Hey guys, how you going? This is BillyEatWorld, and the BF1 beta has been out for about a week now, so I think it's time to finally talk about historical accuracy. And that's because, well, this is a topic I've been thinking about for a while now, and I just didn't want to make a video on it until we had a good sense of what BF1 is all about. So, what's the problem? Well, to be honest, although I am enjoying the game a lot, when it comes to authenticity, DICE have obviously taken quite a lot of liberties. And to me, even though it looks like a World War I game on the surface, it just doesn't really feel like one in a lot of ways, like, say, a game like Verdun does. So what I thought I'd do in this video is just try and set the record straight, not in a critical way, but more just to let you guys know what happened. Because for a lot of you, this might be the first time you've heard anything about the history of this period, and you might not even realise the little things DICE have gotten wrong. Also, I just want to ask you guys, how much do you think authenticity actually matters in Battlefield, and what do you think DICE could have done differently? Do you think Battlefield 1 is fine the way it is, or does this turn you off? Either way, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Now, to kick off, the first authenticity problem that you're going to notice in BF1 is the very fast and dynamic combat, which we all know and love from the previous games. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but this was always something DICE was going to have to deal with when it came to making a Battlefield game accurate in a World War I theme. The reason for this is because most battles in this war were fought defensively, and even cavalry and later on tanks were only able to break the stalemate in rare situations. And so, in other words, the whole mobile combined arms feel that Battlefield is known so well for just unfortunately doesn't make a lot of sense in this kind of setting. Also, another thing in BF1 that doesn't make sense that we've come to expect in other Battlefield games is automatic weapons. And that's because, well, the fact is, at the time, and even up to as late as the end of World War II, most soldiers would have been given a standard issue bolt-action rifle instead. Obviously, the vast majority of the guns in BF1 are either auto or semi-auto, and this has a lot to do with why, like I said in the last point, the combat doesn't feel really that authentic. And so, in a nutshell, whether you like it or not, nailing both of these points is really key to an authentic World War I experience. And unfortunately, BF1 doesn't nail either. Now, another authenticity problem I noticed back in the closed alpha were the airships, and sure enough, they are an iconic part of the World War I theme. But the problem is, unlike in BF1 where they fly straight in over the battlefield, they were never actually used on the front lines in any sort of tactical role. In fact, they were used as long-range strategic bombers on mainly civilian cities, because over the front lines they would have been easily shot down. And so once again, although I really do like the airships and I think in game they're a great thing for balancing, as you can see, they're just not very authentic. But finally, probably one of the biggest authenticity problems in BF1 is the tanks, which if you've played the beta, you'd know by now are ridiculously powerful. And believe it or not, this does actually kind of make sense, because it is true that at the time there were very few weapons capable of dealing with them. The big thing about the tanks that DICE have gotten wrong though is that unlike in-game, they were actually pretty rare, a lot slower, and they often broke down. And not just that, some tanks like the A7V were barely more than prototypes, and unlike what we see in BF1, there's no record of the Allies ever driving one back into battle. Now, bearing all of this in mind, getting back to the original question, how much does historical accuracy actually matter? And, well, I guess that really depends on you as a player, but for me personally, I think I probably would have preferred something a bit more authentic. That's not to say that BF1 still isn't a great game though, and like I said, these are all probably problems DICE knew they were going to run into at some point anyway. Because at the end of the day, World War I is a tricky theme for any game to nail, and I honestly do think that DICE have tried to do the best job they could. Also, just on that note, finally, I should make the point that I think it is entirely possible that DICE would have liked to have made BF1 more authentic, but just couldn't. And that's because, well, at the end of the day, BF1 is the follow-up to BF4, and considering it's already a drastic shift away, they kind of did have to try and bridge the gap a little bit. So, in other words, I think if in another world BF1 had have been its own standalone game, then maybe we would have seen a lot more attention to realism. But in saying that, I also think if it wasn't attached to the Battlefield name and everything that comes with that, then more than likely, it probably wouldn't even exist at all. But anyway, guys, that just about wraps up this video. So like I said, let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, if you like what you see, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, check out the links in the description below if you want to see any more of my videos, or if you want to support my channel on Patreon. And until next time, see you later, and have a good one.